When you begin to deconstruct everything you've believed, you begin to wonder who you are. You're left wondering, how do I view the world now? It's like someone healing from ongoing abuse, and they don't really know who they are without it. If they're not an abuse survivor, who are they? If you're not a Christian, who are you? It's a big question for a lot of people.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Boy, if I ask that question and some other voice comes in with a name, I'm going to be shocked because it needs to be you.
Especially because you're sitting here looking at me.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Come say hello to us, freedhearts.org. We would love to connect with you. When you start to deconstruct, or when you go on this deconstruction journey, and you tear apart and rebuild, deconstruct and reconstruct everything you've believed, you can begin to wonder, who am I?
Let's just say with the deconstruct part, you haven't even gotten to the reconstruct yet.
That's right. Who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing about deconstructing an entire worldview, is that you're left wondering, how do I view the world now?
Yeah.
You know, it's like someone who's healing from ongoing abuse and they don't really know who they are without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're not an abuse survivor, then who are you?
Yeah. If you're not Christian in the way that you've previously understood it, who are you? It's profound and it's a really common question.
Yeah.
And we've always said that if you pull out the one Jenga piece of being queer that the church has gotten that wrong about, you know instinctively that there'll be a lot more pieces to remove. They
may fall on their own.
Yeah. And what about them? That was my experience. I was like, well, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. If I've been mistaught, if the church has been so wrong about these 7 passages, what else are they wrong about? Mm-hmm. And where does that stop? Is there something inside that whole ball of string or not? And if you continue to unravel the questions, am I going to end up all alone? Who am I? I think that's a big question.
I think it's a very big question.
Yeah.
So we can go at this from many angles over several episodes, really. But today we want to talk about what's your relationship now to Christian organizations. Do you want to go to that affirming conference or not? Mm-hmm. And the idea for this specific question came from someone asking me if she should go to this certain Christian conference. It's affirming, or she wouldn't be considering it, and she's only thinking of going to connect with other families in her situation, which is being a deconstructing mom. But so much harm has happened to her queer daughter through church that she's not sure now where to turn.
I will say, too, that some of that harm, we talked last week about parents who, quote, support but don't affirm. Mm-hmm. So that harm continues sometimes even in churches who are accepting but not fully affirming. You know, so it's tricky.
Yes.
In the Christian world, Christian organizations, yes. Christian conferences now.
Yes. Yes. And definitely if they're not really affirming, but even if they are, it's kind of like your position has changed.
Yeah. And again, because so many other things, it's not just deconstructing the church's belief about LGBTQ, it's deconstructing a lot.
It's deconstructing the construct.
Yeah. The patriarchy, misogyny.
The whole premise
the whole bit,
on which the foundation is laid here. Yeah. And you in this beloved community, you know, you may know your own position about this, and you may go to gay affirming conferences, and you may even be part of a thriving church, or affirming or possibly non-affirming, but you may be there for particular reasons, you know, and it may be a good fit for you, or it may cause you angst, or you may be like, I am so done. No, thank you.
Yeah. And I need to say that our role here is not to move you to some other place. Okay. It's an authentic look at some of these underlying questions.
Yes.
You may have spent years in this system, and you deserve, beloved, to be able to have an authentic conversation about maybe not being in this system, about the system itself, and how to think of it and relate to it now.
Yes.
And we, of course, we're not telling you how to think. We're telling you how we think. Okay?
And we're inviting you to think.
Yeah, we're inviting you to think too, which we've talked about this a lot, but in the rules-based, behavior-focused church, they really don't want you to think.
No, they really don't. It's too threatening.
So with all the care and observation and experience that's gone into that, we want you to think.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. And as we've probably made clear, we are in the place of I am done, no thank you when it comes to church and church organizations. Though I did recently give a talk, didn't I? A sermon at my friend's church, Christ Church by the Sea in California.
In Newport Beach, California, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. Hi, Paul.
Yeah. And Paul Cappett's the pastor. And yes, I guess if the pastor's gay, like my friend is, I'll speak at the church. And no, I'll speak at churches. I'm just not interested in sitting in the pews for more information. We did that for many years, maybe too many years. I don't know. And we were there primarily for the community. It's where we found community. And that's kind of baked into it. They talk about church family, et cetera. And it can take a while to realize that church family, it's dysfunctional.
Yeah. So we're going to tell you where we stand, how we've thought through this to help give voice to thoughts or feelings that you may not have been able to find the words for. Because listen, we tend to downplay our thoughts or feelings because we've been conditioned to do that.
Yes.
Because it fits into making us a commodity rather than a person.
Exactly.
But those thoughts or feelings are a treasure of insight that you really want to listen to.
Yeah. And the simplest place to start is that we've grown weary of the American evangelical church constantly feathering its own nest with no true regard for the least of these that Jesus told us to care for. Our charge as followers of Christ is to challenge the powerful and support the disempowered. But this large swath of the church is doing the opposite. It empowers the powerful and it wounds the wounded.
We were talking just a little bit ago about a future episode coming up probably in just a few weeks about how unchristian Jesus is. So
yes.
So look forward to that. So
yeah.
There was a church. There's a road we go down all the time here in the Seattle area, and there was a church nearby whose bus caught on fire. Now, I don't know if it was vandalism or what, but that burnt out bus, but it caught on fire and it was really burned out.
Yeah.
But that burnt out bus sat in their parking lot for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's on a main road near the house. So everybody would see it. So we would see it and say, I said they could have removed that in just 2 days, but they kept that there.
Yes. Yeah, it was really interesting. Like, are they showing how put upon they are? How,
Yeah, I was probably
victims they are, whatever.
I may have just been cynical. I'm not, but we're suspicious of them mainly because we're very suspicious of the system.
Right.
And their intent. And they've earned that. Yeah, they've earned that.
Yes.
And modern evangelical churches have earned that reputation of being in it for themselves. I believe they left that sit there. I think it was near the end of the year even, and they left that sit there. It raised money. It was a great look what's happening to us.
Yeah.
Because
I wouldn't have thought in those terms, but as soon as you said it, I thought, I bet that's true.
Yeah, because they're in it for as much as they can get for them, not for the least of these.
Yeah, we're not even saying that church itself. We're saying churches.
The system, that system.
Yes, it breeds that.
And another problem we have in all this is the hypocrisy. And that I just read an article that is one of the main things that is just driving this overall decline in church attendance is the hypocrisy.
Yes.
where some things get a pass, like just putting it out here, like rampant sex abuse by priests and pastors, and other things don't, like LGBTQ. I mean, go figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we figured it out. It's about power and money and structure.
Right.
Yeah, and we know the reason for this because men in authority abusing children and women fits their patriarchal model, while gender bending does not. Gender roles bending does not.
Yeah. Again, they have to have a binary box so they can determine who's in and who's out.
Yeah, and they have to have men in charge and women not in charge, and you've got to keep those genders straight.
Right. It's that us versus them teaching of contempt. Again, we talked about this before. Go back and search. It's one of the, I think, first 10 or 12 episodes, but it's our most popular episode of all time, and it's the teaching of contempt, that whole us versus them. But, I mean, there's so many examples also of duplicity.
Yep.
So we're also suspicious of churches that don't clearly tell you whether they're affirming or not. There's a great website called churchclarity.org, and some churches won't answer, or they're welcoming but not affirming.
Now, I have to say there are a lot of churches that should be on there that aren't strictly because of the people power of clearing and getting them on there. So,
Well, Church Clarity specifically just asks the church to be clear. Tell us where you stand.
Right.
Yeah, that website and gatechurch.org are two really good sites to find the affirming churches in your area. But as you said, they're not complete yet.
It may be gatechurch.org I was thinking of with the behind.
And you may see this a little bit in the recent decision by the Pope that, and I don't want to get into this very much, but that priests can bless same-sex marriage. And I celebrate that. And
Yay.
I think it's movement in the right direction. But
it's incremental.
But Kevin, the bad theology kills. Kevin.
Yeah, I know. Garcia. God,
Kevin Garcia. Oh my
God.
gosh. Hi, Kevin. We just forgot your name, but we know it. We love you.
That is
was
not
great.
unusual.
But he talked about how, thanks. But in the same thing, he reconfirmed that marriage is between one man and one woman. He said there can be nothing even remotely like a wedding ceremony or even a civil union ceremony. So, as Kevin said, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
We don't need your approval. And
At all.
Yeah. So that duplicity continues of every day on all kinds of stuff. Okay. But the fact that these churches are not affirming is often buried, so you can't even tell it on their website or on their marquee. And sometimes not even until you get in there or have been in there for a while.
Yeah, because why do they bury it? Because they want it both ways.
Right. If they're trying to bury it, what are they afraid of? What are they ashamed of? So
yeah, they don't want to seem unfriendly to LGBTQ people and allies because they know how unpopular their viewpoint is because of how wrong it is. And who knows, maybe you'll get in there and change your mind. They can change their mind for you. Change your mind for you.
And they don't want to piss off the donors.
Right.
To upset the givers who are used to throwing their weight around with their money to have things the way they want, especially the big major givers. In other words, they want to keep their numbers up, keep their givers happy, both which translate to money.
Yeah.
And if it means sacrificing the LGBTQ community, it's what they do every day.
Yeah. They consider you expendable.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you're the thems.
Yeah.
We're the thems.
Yeah. And we believe that if you're going to be non-affirming, then be non-affirming. But don't trick people. Don't hide it and trick people into thinking you're friends when you're not. Don't hide the fact that you're not affirming.
Yeah, I would love to see these like the cases of the bakers and the photographers that won't serve LGBT community. Okay, well, if you're so sure of that, put the sign on your door.
Right.
On your website, we do not serve, and let it fall where it may.
Right.
But they won't do that.
Right. And then you feel like a victim because your numbers drop off.
Because they know. Well, I think they know.
Right.
Anyway, okay. Doesn't sound dramatic in the least.
Yeah.
But it's accurate and truthful.
Yeah. And this And this woman I was talking to about it said, I don't fit with non-Christian parents because they don't perceive life through the lens of Jesus, but I don't fit within the church because, as my sister said, you need to love God and his word more than your child. To which I responded, I can do both. It's bullshit. She said it's horse shit that I've said bullshit like that's less bad. She said it's horse shit.
I don't know. Have you compared? It may be. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
That I am often bombarded. Sorry, I'm going to have to say it again. It's the horse shit that I'm bombarded with by my sisters, and that is so embraced by many, she said, and me too, although now my sister and I don't talk. So
now we know there are a lot of people still working within the church structure to try to bring more justice into it. I love them.
Yeah.
I know you're listening. Many of you, there are a lot of you, again, still working within that structure, within the church to try to bring more justice. We appreciate them so much.
Well,
but
we appreciate them if they feel called to do it. It's not like somebody's got to do that, so we're glad you're in there. You do it only if you feel in your heart that that's a good thing for you to do. You feel called to it.
Because you can sashay away and leave them to God.
Yeah, and if it's hurting you, then we think you should get out.
Yeah.
And God isn't going to call you to stay there and be hurt.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and we don't want to tell you what to do. We
sometimes
do. What we want you to do is listen to the Spirit and follow the Spirit, period. That still small voice. And that voice is for you and you alone. You know what I mean? It's between you and the Spirit there. We have lost faith in the structure itself. The modern religious church. It's not even biblical, actually, the modern religious church. But go ahead. Yeah, we can get into this. There's great, so much of what we believe or what is touted as Christianity comes from things that happen and decisions that were made and edits and translations and creeds.
That. I was just
that were made in hundreds of years after Jesus.
Right.
Jesus is just clickbait for so many churches right now.
Even I was just saying. Sorry, I got us off track.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Even meeting every Sunday for church, that's not even a biblical model.
Yeah.
That's not in the Bible as a biblical model.
I mean, for us, the modern religion, not just for us, the fact is that the modern religious church has caused irreparable damage to the culture and to itself. It's followed leaders to fracture families and to force people out of the protection of community and into the margins. Mm-hmm. We've seen this personally from our own story and from relatives who have been rejected, who have rejected us because we champion LGBTQ plus people, and in the droves of people, like many of you there, who have come to us with hearts broken by church and family.
Yeah.
This is our experience.
Yeah, and when I see churches asking people to come back, saying they're sorry for what they've done, but they're not rethinking the system from the bottom up, I go cold. Because even if LGBTQ people gain acceptance in church, it's still the wrong system. Mm. Jesus never told us to build structures to bring people in every Sunday with bouncers at the door to judge people worthy or unworthy to pass through the doors.
Or where they're seated,
Yeah. And in you add in the patriarchy, the misogyny, the racism that seems to be inherent in this system. And, the whole thing is anathema to what Jesus taught us.
I mean, whether it's slavery or witches or LGBTQ people or immigrants or refugees.
Or children. The hate taught against children is unbearable.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably another episode.
Yes, it probably is.
But the point is here that there's always a scapegoat. Again, always a them. Always an enemy. There's no hero without a villain. There's no us without them.
And LGBTQ people and non-LGBTQ people have lost interest in a system that may say, okay, you can play with us now, but still excludes others.
Yeah.
It's just shifted their sin du jour, but they're still consumed with sin. of other people.
Yeah, with othering people.
And with othering people.
And when they believe that they're unquestionably correct, and they cannot be questioned.
Yes.
In all of their theology, their biblical interpretations, for us, that's not a system to be part of.
Yeah.
Questions aren't allowed. We hear this all the time. I ask a simple question, and the next thing I know, the youth pastor is running down the hallway with Bible in hand to go talk to my child.
Yeah.
They shame people who ask questions.
Yeah.
The foundation is all wrong in so many ways.
Yeah. And if you're unwilling to ever admit being wrong about anything, if you don't hold a posture of humility to say, yeah, we were wrong about slavery. We've been wrong about women. And yeah, we might be wrong about LGBTQ. Our track record actually isn't that great. If you're not willing to stand in that position, then you're not trustworthy, church. That humility Jesus talked about, yeah, you don't have that.
I mean, remember that this country was founded honestly on white male supremacy.
Yes.
When the founders could be part of declaring another human being less than a full human being, this country was founded on white males, the only ones who mattered, the only ones who had access to those inalienable rights that are self-evident were white male landowners.
Yeah, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and by all we mean white who are landowners.
Now we can't fix race and misogyny and oppression of the poor until we restructure that core foundation.
Yes. And the modern evangelical church is founded on not treating others well as it was founded on for the first 300 years after Christ, but instead shifted into who's in and who's out. Mm-hmm. And those lines may shift, but the real change is beyond having lines to separate us in the first place.
Yeah, that it's that whole us versus them, who's in, who's out. That's exactly, as opposed to everybody's in.
Right.
Love.
Which is what Jesus
love
told
God,
us.
love others. Everything else falls under that.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about anything but that.
Yeah.
And the church could use oh my gosh, the church could use this immeasurable resources for good.
Yeah. All
Not
the people they rally every week.
Not the average of, 16% of their entire budget that goes to anything besides buildings and salaries?
Yeah, 85%
or somewhere near that
is on salaries and buildings.
Yeah. I mean, they could just imagine that they could do that for the ministry of reconciliation that Jesus called us to bring healing in our fractured and broken social systems, to feed the hungry. But instead it continues to splinter us. I mean, that's to just splinter us, polarize us into more disparate, angry, and self-righteous groups. And I don't know where this is heading. It's unnerving to me how polarized it is. And it seems to us that the non-affirming, patriarchal, rules-based, behavior-focused church is at the core of this division.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're in this moment like on a diatribe here, and
well, we're telling you what we feel, and I think, but honestly,
we're telling you because we talked about, what happens if you deconstruct, and why should you deconstruct? Why might you want to deconstruct? And it's because we're showing you how the system is broken, really, in case you haven't seen it quite for yourself. We're showing you.
Well, I think we talked about if I deconstruct, well, I lose who I am. Really, I'm afraid to deconstruct because what's out there. But I think we're pointing out that the core of what you're deconstructing from is faulty. So whatever's out there is going to be freeing. That's why freeing hearts to love and be loved. That's part of our mission statement. And it's 2024. And this, I know you can feel it, beloved, but it's ramping up towards some things happening later in the year, and with elections and things like that, and current and upcoming Supreme Court decisions, all those kind of things. It's ramping up. So are we on a diatribe? Yeah, a little bit, but I think it's time for that.
Yeah.
I think we have to speak up here.
Yeah.
Even when our voice shakes, we have to speak up.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen this meme out there, but I don't want my little baby grandchildren to say, hey, oh my God, when that was going on, what did you do?
Yeah.
What did you say? Did you do or say, did you try to stop it? Did you help stop it? Yeah, anyway.
And sometimes I feel weary, like a sympathizer in the South who wanted to help in slavery, or a German who watches people increasingly fall in step with Hitler. And I know that sounds dramatic. And, you know, it sometimes feels though like that's what we're up against. Mm-hmm. And as I told this mom I was talking to, we are way underpaid and way overworked.
Indeed.
And she wrote some encouragement back. She said, I'm sad for your weariness, but I want to encourage you to keep it up. Get slowly but surely, members of churches are looking outside of churches for support in navigating a new life with a child who is trans or gay or bisexual, or the myriad of the church's cast-offs. Mm. And I know that's true. And I've been reading a little bit more about the Waldensians, my ancestors, who are among the first Protestants to protest the abuses of the church. And it was a long slog to make real headway to get to the Reformation. And they were hundreds of years before the Reformation. But we're in just as big a Reformation right now.
Yeah.
Just as necessary and just as timely.
And it might even be a Reformation that is not a reforming, but a deconstruction and reconstruction.
Yeah, a reconstruction of something.
Yeah.
And don't grow weary. But the point is, don't grow weary in well-doing, beloved. We need you to be who you're here to be. And you and us, we don't have to change the system. We have to be authentic to ourselves and do what we're called to do. Do what makes us come alive, and help the person in front of us, like Mother Teresa said. Don't feed the world, feed the person in front of you.
I was just going to say that because it gets overwhelming to think, well, this system, this church is huge. I can't, as we've seen in so many movies like Spotlight and things like that when you come against the church, they come against you.
Yes.
And that's big.
Yes.
So, but we don't need to worry about that. Again, if you can't feed the world, feed the person in front of you.
Yes.
You can't love the world at once, love the person in front of you. Follow that still small voice and trust that there are millions, billions of others just like you doing the same thing.
That's right. And the world is changing for the better. The numbers show it. The numbers show that people are becoming more and more and more awake on these things.
People's hearts, that's right.
In people's hearts, and the ground is crumbling underneath this patriarchal system. But they're screaming about it, kicking and screaming because they don't like that. They're in the death throes of this system. So don't confuse that with being overwhelmed.
Yeah, beloved, we tell you this, and I will say right now that we will continue this work.
Yeah.
Because anything less is to abandon our post.
Yeah. And as long as we're called, we're here.
And that's what we want you to do. We want you to listen to the Spirit, that still small voice, to lead you as you deconstruct, as it gets scary. The who that you will become, beloved, is the beautiful who that you authentically are.
Yeah.
And the church has distorted that.
Yeah.
And taught a lot of things that have put that down. Right. And that beauty will explode as you deconstruct. That's who you won't live. You're going to gain so much in this process. But all you need to do, love the person in front of you, continue to listen to that still small voice of Spirit in every step. And
you will regain your power.
Yeah.
You will regain your power.
And sometimes it feels like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But Billie Jean King so famously said, pressure is a privilege.
That's right.
This work we do is a privilege, and it's an honor and a joy. And thank you for this time that you spend with us. It means so much to us.
Yes, it does. Indeed. And we make sure to practice self-love and self-care with ourselves, with each other, with our kids, and with our community. And then we come back to the keyboard.
Back to the microphones.
And I hope that you practice love and self-care with each other, with your close people, and with your community, and then do the next thing. That's all there is to do.
So let's keep up the good work together and know that the very thing we're here for is to love your neighbor as yourself. Love above all else. You are beloved.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the Freed Hearts Podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant, inclusive community for you at freedhearts.org. Please just come say hello. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org. Audio engineering is provided by Luke Johnson. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner. You can find out more about her and her music at heysaintsinner.com. Please share, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and support us if you can. Thanks for listening.